Well, hello there guys. Just a short video on this Friday to let you know that I finally received my physical disc of Friday the 13th, the game. Of course, I backed this on Kickstarter when it was first announced, and then I backed it even more on BackerKit. And the irony of these things is that sometimes it takes so long to actually arrive for them to actually send you your physical disc that you can often buy it in stores before you actually receive the physical disc. So pretty funny story there. But of course I've had this since it first came out because they knew that the discs were going to be delayed, so they gave everybody who backed the game a download code, so you could download the game from your console of choice or from Steam if that's what you preferred. Anyway, this is the physical Xbox One disc, and as you can see here, it says includes exclusive Bloody Jason skin and counselor clothing pack. A lot of fans were pissed off about that, that they all backed the game and played the game digitally, and then they included a bonus that was only on the physical edition. But if you've got your physical edition, then you can just pop in the disc and download those, and then you can keep playing the game as normal, I think. So you don't actually need the disc to get those. And another thing about the game is they've upped the level cap. The highest level you could acquire in the game used to be 100. Now it's 150. And if you manage to level up to 150, then you will unlock all the Bloody Jasons and all the counselor clothing packs anyway, I think. There are actually 3 variants on each Jason. Each Jason skin has a light bloody variant, a medium bloody variant, and a heavy bloody variant. So to get all of those, you have to level up essentially to 150. Anyway, here's the back of the case. I've talked about the game before. It's a pretty, I don't know, calling this a game is optimistic. It's more like a Friday the 13th experience because there is, again, there's one game mode that was only online when the game was released, whether you either play as Jason or a counselor. Jason's goal is to kill all the counselors in 20 minutes, and the counselor's goal is to escape with their lives or survive the full 20-minute round. And there were 3 maps. There are now 4 maps, but there are also some small variants of the first 3 maps. But yeah, 4 main different maps, different Jason skins, different counselors. You can unlock kills and yeah, stuff like that. But it's still a tiny game. Still mired by glitches and bugs, and yeah, calling this a video game is a bit on the optimistic side in my opinion. It is, you know, people complain about Star Wars Battlefront, the first one, when it was new, because that game did not have a lot of content. Star Wars Battlefront is like World of Warcraft compared to Friday the 13th the game. This is like tiny game. But the funny thing about this game, I think, is the fact that this is kind of like the movies. It's simple, it's repetitive, it's very flawed, and the hardcore fans will eat it up. So if you're a hardcore Friday the 13th fan, I think you'll still really enjoy the game for what it is. But if you really want to take a step back and compare this to any other video game, then this is just, you know, it is not on par with any other quality AAA video game. So take it with a massive grain of salt, and if you are a rabid Friday the 13th movie fan, then I still think you'll really enjoy this game for what it is. But it's very simple, it's very repetitive, it's very buggy and simple and glitchy, and yeah. So, but they are adding to the game. They are adding to the game, patching the game, and updating it all the time. Just this December, they finally added an offline mode where you can play as Jason and you can hunt and kill offline bots, meaning that the computer controls the counselors and you have to kill them all within 20 minutes. So if you just want to play the game but you don't want to go online and deal with all that hassle, which is just a nightmare because you can get kicked out, it can glitch out, all manner of shitty things can happen when you play online, then you have that option. It's a lot smoother, it's a lot faster, and it's, in my opinion, a much better way if you want to just play the game, have fun, and level up. But of course that becomes exceptionally repetitive. and really, really fast. I can play this game for a weekend or so, maybe like 2-3 days at a time, and then I have to put it down because it's so repetitive, it's so simple. There's not enough content yet, but they are adding to it. They did add finally a virtual cabin, the Virtual Cabin 2.0 they're calling it, on all consoles and on Steam. And I highly recommend going through that. It's really cool. I can link you to a guide on how to get through the Virtual Cabin in the description. But I want to mention one thing. That's if you're on console, then you need to go through the thing 3 times. And each time you unlock new things by doing particular steps and going through the motions, so to speak. But if you're going through the cabin for the 3rd time on consoles, there's a part where they say just enter the Konami Code. You cannot simply enter the Konami Code on Xbox or on consoles. You need to go down to the docks again, and you need to activate the walkie talkie that's on the docks. Activate that, and then you immediately enter the Konami Code. That works. That's how you do it on consoles. That's the part that was really confusing me. But if you do that, you will unlock all the Jason skins as statues in the Virtual Cabin, including Jason from part 1, Little Boy Jason, and Uber Jason from Jason X. So that's really cool. That's a really, really cool bonus they've added there. Might mean that we'll see a Jason X map in the future, most likely the ship Grendel from that movie, and a Uber Jason skin. But I wonder what they're going to do with part 1 Jason. Is there going to be a game mode where you can play as a little boy Jason? Or what's the deal there? Because that's kind of weird. So we'll see. But my point is they're adding a lot of cool stuff to the game. It's always being patched. It's always getting better. But it's still like saying this very, very basic, nondescript, hollow, and exceptionally leaky ship is slowly having all those tiny little holes plugged up one by one. So, take it with a massive grain of salt. And if you're a diehard fan, I still think you can enjoy this game. But it was horrible on release, and it's finally getting playable. But even though it's playable, it's still a tiny basic little game. So just take that into consideration. And yeah, but if you're a huge, massive Friday the 13th fan, I still think you'll get a kick out of this. So that was the actual game itself. You can open this up. There's the disc. Nothing too special there. But this also came with, because I backed the game, it came with a few physical bonuses. We had this little, I think this is a refrigerator magnet. I think you're supposed to stick this on a refrigerator. I'm going to try that out. Yep, pretty cool. Just a logo there. A regular little sticker. That's the skin from the final chapter, which is currently the final skin that you unlock in the game by reaching level 44, which I just did. There was a double XP weekend and they finally had offline mode. So I perfected my Jason strategy and I was finally able to play the game without it glitching, without being kicked out of servers, and that was really fun. So I just played that game for like a full weekend straight during the Christmas holidays, and I finally unlocked the final skin, which is the final chapter skin. But of course they're adding more game modes, they're adding more skins, so we'll probably see at least an Uber Jason skin in the future. But yeah, there's a little sticker with Jason on it. And then you also had this double-sided poster. Here's one side of it, and there's the back of it there. Very gruesome, very nice. Let me just put that down. Kind of dark in here, but yeah. So yeah, now there are, I should mention, if you're a backer of the game and you're wondering what the hell is this, this is not the stuff I backed, then I should also mention that there are a lot of bonuses that are coming in the future. Among other things, they mentioned that some people backed an exclusive Steelbook edition, which is going to be signed by all the major people involved in the game, but they are going to ship those out separately later because they're not finished yet, and they are going to send those to you, so don't worry about that, those are coming. They also mentioned that they are making a soundtrack CD, I think, and a physical art book for the game. which backers have backed. I think I backed both, or maybe I just backed the art book. I'm certain I backed the art book. But those are coming later because they want to add a single player mode to the game first. The reason being is that they want the soundtrack and the art book to contain assets from the entire game. They want the full experience for those, so they have to work out the single player completely first, and then they can produce an art book and a soundtrack CD for the game. So don't worry if you haven't gotten those yet, they are coming, but it's going to take a little bit longer. So yeah, either way, nice to finally have this. I think I'm gonna pop in the disc so I can just download those bloody Jason skins. But again, even if you do not have the physical game, now this is gonna be tough, but if you are able to play the game and level up all the way to 150 or close to 150, you will still unlock all the bloody Jason skins, all the counselor stuff, all that stuff. At least that's my impression. So you do not have to have a physical disc to unlock all these bonuses, but it's going to be a real pain in the ass because you are going to have to play the game for months and months and months on end. My advice there, if you want to get the most XP out of the game, is to play offline mode and perfect your Jason strategy. And try to make sure to play, if you can, while they're doing double XP events, because that helps enormously. So it's basically, I know it's a pain in the ass, but you just kind of have to marathon the game, perfect your Jason strategy, play offline, and you can level up a bunch of times in a single weekend. But you can, come home, play the game, play a couple of games every evening or every week or something like that, and eventually, of course, you will get there. But it's gonna take months and months and months, and that kind of sucks. So I'm hoping I will get there eventually, but we'll see. It's going to take time, but hopefully they're going to add more game modes to the game. It's looking that way. There's going to be a single player mode. There's going to be a lot more in the future. So hopefully leveling up will be more fun and, faster in the future, hopefully. Another thing that I have to critique about this game, it's a small pet peeve about this game, but they have these things called Pamela tapes. When you're playing the game online, that's online only, you can, at times, root through the cabins as a counselor and discover these things called Pamela tapes. And there are, I think, 20 Pamela tapes at least. And these are hidden bonuses for the game, which are recordings of Pamela Voorhees in a police interrogation. But the thing about these is that they are exceptionally hard to find. I mean, the chances of finding those are slim to nothing. Like, I played the game for eight months on end, from the day it was released until now. At least 8 months, probably closing in on 9 months, and I found one Pamela tape. So their solution to the Pamela tapes was not to fix them or give them to players, but to add more tapes called Tommy tapes. Like, that's just crazy. That's just bullshit to me. I think the Pamela tapes and the Tommy tapes and all this crap should be unlocked as you level up. Every 10 levels or thereabouts, you get one Pamela tape. That would make a hell of a lot more sense than having to play 1,000, play 1,000,000 games online, and maybe you'll discover one Pamela tape hidden in a drawer somewhere. And chances are that another player can grab it before you do. So it's like, it's a crazy system. I desperately want them to change that, because it would be actually cool to have the in-game Pamela tapes. Again, if you really want to hear those, you can just search them on YouTube. Just search Pamela tapes on YouTube and you can actually listen to the recordings. But I'm one of those suckers that wants to collect everything. So that's one thing I would patch immediately. I would take the fucking Pamela tapes and I would put them as part of the level progression system, because that would also motivate players to keep leveling up, because you already unlock counselor skins, Jason skins, counselor clothes, Jason kills eventually, and bloody Jason skins and all that stuff. But add in the Pamela tapes to that, and then the game works and people are more inclined to want to level up. So just my little pet peeve on the Pamela tapes there. Anyway, that's the game. I thought about doing a real in-depth review about the game, and I still might do that. But it's really hard to review a game that is changing and being updated so much all the time. They're going to add a so-called single-player mode. We don't know exactly what that's going to be. They're going to add a game mode I think they call Paranoia, which we have no idea what that's going to be like. The only thing we know is that it has something to do with a blue mask, kind of like the blue mask that Roy wore in Part 5, A New Beginning. They're updating, patching, adding to it constantly, all the time. But the good thing about that, the good news about that is the longer you wait to get Friday the 13th the game, the better a game it'll be. It's already a much better game than it was on launch. I want to be damn clear about that. The game is much better now than it was on launch. It was a disaster on launch, a total catastrophe. 1 game mode, online, 3 maps, and you couldn't even play online because you couldn't access the servers. And if you did access the servers, the game was a glitchy mess, and you were most likely kicked out of the game way before it was over. So, you know, it was a total nightmare. So the game is much more fun to play now, especially that they've added the offline Jason mode, which I highly recommend checking out. So again, this is really not so much a game as it is kind of a fun novelty for hardcore Friday the 13th nutbags like myself. But it's, you know, it's fun to like pop in the game and play a 20-minute round every weekend or so, or a couple of games every weekend or so. But it's not much more than that. Hopefully it will get better, but I still think this game is under budgeted and it was rushed out really quickly. But it has its moments. It's still fun to play every now and again, and I'm really glad that it exists. So yeah, that is pretty much my thoughts on Friday the 13th, the game as it stands right now. But again, it's always changing. They're always adding to the game. They're always making it bigger and better. But that's not saying much. It's really, really not saying much. It's kind of like saying, well, you know, you've got 1 rice grain and they're slowly adding another rice grain, and maybe in a fucking 1,000 years we'll have enough to enjoy a full meal. So it's that kind of situation. But yeah, it is what it is. Look for a bargain, and you have to be a real fan of the movies and this type of game to enjoy it, I think. So that is Friday the 13th the game. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will catch you in the future. All right, bye.